Unbelievable. Hey, Tracy.
That might be Janet. Well, maybe it's younger gal.
Yeah.
Younger
than me.
Yeah, well, younger than me.
I just missed you.
He used to work at YSS night chairs.
Yeah, I know. We've been working on it for 15 years.
But it's sort of a heavier set gal, wears a sweater, you know, real nice. It's probably Amanda. She worked at YSS and then she went to the bridge.
Oh, here.
Good luck, John Murphy.
So you work with, Amy too, or, you know, Amy George.
Well, so she's on the bottom side.
She's on the
Not
bottom
a-
side. Okay.
Yeah, but yes, I do.
She is, she's fun. So.
Introduce her, I'll get into Amy's area.
Well, fine, you're right.
Good evening. The time is 6 p.m. I'll call to order the October 22nd meeting of the Huxley City Council. Roll call, please.
Roberts.
Here.
Hatcher,
Here.
Rigler,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Very much. Need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll give you a motion. Mulder. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 3 on the agenda tonight is public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to speak this evening, just ask you to come to the podium, start with your name and address, and limit your time to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Aaron Trowbridge, 505 West Centennial. This is in response to an email I sent earlier. I'm actually just going to read the email, so for the record. I'm making a request to the city of Huxley and council to enforce our ordinances as written and issue a stop work order for out of hours construction for the Westview Heights development. Residents should not have to bear the burden of developers trying to rush their construction. Plain and simple, using a concrete saw until 3:30 a.m. and then 1:30 a.m. appears to be disorderly conduct. This has been done repeatedly with attention and forethought, causing unreasonable distress to the residents. It has been reported multiple times with no solution. I've not seen any addendums or specifics allowing constructions to continue past quiet hours in the Iowa code or in any of our codes. Additionally, there needs to be accountability for the previous construction violations. The developer knew they were operating out of hours and did not care, and they could be fined, and they should be fined for their actions. Not to be overly dramatic, but you all took an oath to uphold the laws. Doesn't matter how big or small, you can't pick and choose. And I'm not, I sent this email, I'm not expecting a response from your personal email, but as residents, we're demanding accountability from the council. 3:30 a.m. If you had a saw outside your window at that time, I'm pretty sure you'd all be pretty pissed off. 1:30 a.m., same thing, especially when it's planned. They know they're gonna do it, they're gonna be out there, they're out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Aaron, anybody else? Oh,
They're out there tonight. If there are past working hours, there will be calls to the police to ask them to stop. It's just, the ordinances are pretty cut and dry.
thank you, Aaron.
Good evening, council and mayor. I've just a real quick item for you tonight. I have invitations that I'd like to distribute to the council, and in addition to the invitation for you all to join us, I'd ask you to spread the word around to the folks within the community that own a business, small or large. We invite them to join us on November 19th. 7:30 a.m. We'll serve a light breakfast. We're going to have the meeting at the beautiful new Huxcom facility. And it's really our annual business appreciation breakfast. I think this will be our third year that we've done this. We've typically have a nice turnout, but it helps if you're doing a personal invitation to the group, especially this year. I'd love to have your attendance. Dave and I have been in correspondence. The feature and the program for this event is really the new program that the city is rolling out. So I know there's already a little chatter out there, and I'm excited again to be able to provide you the recognition and the support of business, and then also be available should there be questions. And again, Dave will actually be presenting the information, but we hope you can join us on the 19th.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Mulder.
Any questions or discussion?
Can we poll? No, we don't need to poll anything. I'm fine with it. Sorry.
No problem. Hearing no other comments, as to roll call, please.
Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yeah.
Roberts. Yes.
Very much. Item 5A on the agenda this evening is resolution number 24072, approving an agreement for the leasing assignment or sale of existing dark fiber location in the city of Huxley right of way by Interstate Power and Light Company. I need a motion, please.
I'll give you a motion, Mulder. Second, Hatcher.
Okay. Any questions on this? I'll give a brief synopsis, Dave.
Yeah, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. As you recall, I believe last year, about this time, maybe November, there were some easements that the city granted as Alliant was bringing fiber through the community. That project, I think, has been kind of ongoing this fall. I'm not sure how complete they are, but they've been working on that. As part of this, Alliant worked with the League of Iowa Cities, who's kind of supporting this. They've got this dark fiber, which I did speak with Mason Adams. Mason assured me that Alliant is not getting into the telecommunication business. He is available by phone tonight if you'd like to ask him any specific questions, but he did provide an email as to why this ask came. I think it had to do, let me just go to this real quick. Their franchise agreement allowed them to install equipment for energy delivery, but not leasing equipment to other uses. So the resolution is the first step in their regulatory process that they have to meet. So they need council approval, which would allow them to lease some of this existing dark fiber that's in those conduits that they've buried throughout our community and a number of other communities here through central Iowa. That's kind of what I know, but like, see if you had any other specific questions, Mason said, all I gotta do is dial him up and he'd be happy to answer any questions that you have this evening. He is actually at his son's football game in Boone. He said this is probably his son's last year of playing, so he kind of wanted to make the last game. So, but he is available if you have any questions.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm gonna abstain from this, mainly because I sit on Huxcom's Board of Directors. And I don't see that it's actual a conflict of interest, due to what they're asking, but I don't want an appearance in fact, so I'm just gonna abstain from the vote.
Thank you for that. Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Murphy,
Abstain.
Roberts.
yes, Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, department reports. Our packet did include department reports. Are there any additional items any staff wish to highlight? Ask you to come to the podium, please.
Yeah. Heather Dinger, Huxley Parks and Rec Director. Two things. One, I wanted to let you know the tree board planted 54 trees on Saturday morning. There were 24 at Burhow Park and the remainder are all at the future Westview Heights Park. So thank you, Corey, for helping out and your boys kind of helping out. So and thank you we got a grant for $5,000 for that. So that was wonderful. I also was asked from Huxley Historical Society to do a follow-up about the rail car question. They're wanting to move on that. I know we do not have a specific location. I know that a council member has talked to Nels Nord about a possible location. There are two other locations that we could consider. One would be, and I mentioned this to city staff this morning, where the current volleyball courts are at on the corner of Main and Railroad, so right adjacent to the park. And then the other would be at the base of the bridge, between the bridge and the road. So I did do measurements today. I do have the size dimensions of the rail car, so they would both fit at that location. Otherwise, the park board has not had a chance to meet and discuss this yet again, but we had talked originally about putting it behind the amphitheater in the empty lot. So without having a definitive location, they are wanting to know if the council would support them moving forward, because it is going to be about 9-month process, most likely, to get this rail car completed before it even gets brought to Huxley. So we would have time to create that plan if you are willing.
Okay. Obviously, it's gonna take a work session type of item to get some direction on that.
Okay.
So if you want to put that information together
Okay,
for the next meeting.
thanks.
Thanks, Heather. Anybody else this evening wishing to speak? Seeing none. Barb.
Yes, your emails are just about ready to go. Your new email address will be your first initial, your last name at huxleyiowa.org. Craig is to give me the default password. I'll get that to you and then you can set up your own passwords. We'll help you get it on your phones if you want it on your phones as well.
I don't have any other questions or anything this night. If you have a question on my report, I'd be happy to address anything that you've got.
My issue tonight comes a lot with what Tara or Aaron brought up earlier. I laid in bed last night and listened to Concrete Saws till 1:30 in the morning. It's getting old. I will go out there and tell them to stop tonight if it goes on. Cause I don't know what else to do besides communicate. But it seems like people just snub their nose and go on. And I'd like to find a solution to it. The solution isn't just suck it up and live with it. So it is a rule.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Mr. Mulder.
I'll add to the saw cutting comment. I happen to be on a bus with the head of SUDAS with me in the seat beside me when I got the first emails about the late saw cutting the first night. The head of SUDAS, David Carney, as some know, he used to be the city engineer for the city of Sioux City, also heads up the SUDAS, which is the statewide urban design and specifications manual for the state that Forrest uses for some of his stuff. And a lot of people reference. I asked, took the opportunity to ask David if there was anything in SUDAS that specifically said about saw cutting. He said not specifically in SUDAS, but as former city engineer in a couple cities across the state of Iowa, that they have excluded saw cutting and construction stuff for pavements out of their noise ordinances. And they specifically have written them out because it has to be timed to prevent cracking, on random cracking like we have in our fresh sidewalk out here. That wasn't saw cutted till the next day. And so we have random cracks out there. So when Jeff's mentioning, it protects and gives longer life for the pavement, it has to be timed at a certain period of time. And that is a variable period of time because it depends on weather, the mix, there's a lot of variables.
October, you'd have a lot better timing issues.
Well, that's
Poor planning on their part's not an emergency on the cities.
But this October, we gotta realize this October is
Hold on.
very good weather.
Yep, hold on. I'm going to cut everybody off here just a second. This is not an agenda item and not a work session item for this evening. So there's not a formal council discussion on this. Certainly each council member at the conclusion of the meeting has the opportunity to make comments. That's where we're at now. So I'll continue that opportunity.
Thank you. And yeah, I don't mean to get into a debate by any means. I'm just stating some conversations that I have about specifically the saw cutting and things that I know. As most people know, I'm the executive director of the Iowa Concrete Paving Association for my day job. So what I do is help train contractors, help be a resource for a lot of cities, municipalities, SUDAS, city administrators, public works directors. We teach them how to do what they need to do to prolong and give us the longest life pavements that we could have out there as the largest benefit for the city and its citizens get the best value for its dollar. So in Jeff's reference to prolonging the life of the pavement, the timing and cutting of the sawing has to be done within a certain sawing window, which is variable depending on the temperature of the day. Anyhow, with all of that being said, David and I had some further conversation, and he said a lot of cities have exclusions for saw cutting time periods. So I guess with that being said, and numerous examples out there, Huxley probably hasn't really had enough complaints to encounter a spot where they write that exclusion into their city codes and ordinance. And that's why you're probably not finding it in Huxley's city codes. So I'd ask Mayor to maybe put that on a future work session, and we'll look at some examples of other cities, other states or other cities within Iowa that have exclusions for that, because it is needed as part of that process. It's whether it's June, July, October, we've got some great weather. People are trying to finish up their projects for the year. So David, if I could just ask that we have that in a future work session to discuss.
Okay. Noted, sir. Mr. Rigler.
I guess I spoke with you, Mayor, but I see at least one representative to ask us about fireworks. I missed the second vote for the last one. I was instructed to at least ask whether or not there would be a second to consider adding a work session. The one I missed, unfortunately, the audio was impaired, so it sounded like the inclusion of a weekend was a big part of that discussion. So I would just ask that we revisit it with a work session with the inclusion of a weekend. I know that we can't discuss any more beyond that, but just making sure that there's merit to the entire discussion. I know that we flipped from one extreme to the other, so I guess in the list of potential work sessions coming up, I would ask that be considered.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. Etcher.
So in reference to the concrete sign, I feel for those residents, feel for you down there. But we have had an unbelievable fall weather where these companies are trying to get the work done and as much as they can. And we're looking for the development So I do feel that we need to give them some kind of a leeway, but with that being said, I tend to agree with you, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but again, the temperatures drop, and that has to be sawed, so I don't know what the answer is here, and like Greg said, we probably should discuss on, we should have ordinance changes and so forth. In reference to the, fireworks, you know, we've gone back and forth. I've listened to both sides. And I don't know if, yeah, we probably need to have another work session over it and, decide whether or not we should have a petition on both sides, to get city, you know, the resident input. But yes, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Rory. Tracy.
I just want to thank Greg for giving us the information tonight because I was unaware, and I appreciate Jeff going out and trying to do what he did to at least address that, but I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for the record, we did receive an additional email from Mr. Walters, who was also upset regarding the sign. So I think everybody on council received that as well. So I would encourage you folks on council and in the public to continue to reach out to city staff with your thoughts and ideas as to how to resolve that. I don't think I had anything else. Chief, did you have something to add?
So tonight we were addressed by Aaron Trowbridge about and councilman about the issue we got going on with the cement cutting. However, I have an officer working tonight who is not privy to these discussions, and I can't give him council direction yet on where we're gonna go. So I was gonna hopefully get some sort of direction. I've heard both. We need to let them work, and they're outside the time. As the code states right now, they're outside the time. They're planning on doing it tonight, and there is a planned call to the Huxley Police Department. I have an officer working tonight who has no idea what's being discussed in here right now. So I was hoping maybe I could help this officer perform his duties tonight with council direction.
Okay, certainly can appreciate that position, Nate. David or Aaron? Aaron, you're probably not fully up to speed on this. You've heard a little bit of conversation. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions?
Hello, Erin Clanton. So I think, given that it's not an action item for you guys to formally take action on this evening, I do think it would be helpful for the police department to at least get some direction on how you want this to be handled, knowing that we're not going to take a formal vote on anything. In terms of next steps, if a call does come into the police department, obviously that's a situation we're going to have to address, whether that's through an infraction or a citation. But I think it would be helpful for the police department to at least have some direction from council on how you want that to be handled.
Okay, well, given that, I'll just go down the aisle here, and if you could concisely give some direction based on your opinion. I'll start at the end here.
Like with anything else we discuss here in the council, the rules are the rules until the rules are changed. My advice is we follow the rules as is. It's not like they haven't been published, discussed. If we want to make a change in the future, I'm all for that, but for now, let's follow the rules.
Appreciate that, Mr. Mulder.
Maybe I could get a little bit of clarification, Nate. Could you help me out understanding what the violation potentially would be? Is there a decibel reading, a noise abatement? Is it just anybody doing any activity?
Correct.
So you can,
Any type of construction activity, yeah.
so
After or before certain times, and then it goes to like 8 at night, 7 at night, before and after October 1st.
so construction activity could be scooping up a shovel of dirt off of the street.
Evidently, I guess, but I don't think that'll get too many calls, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just asking what
quite honestly,
actually.
in practice, it's reactive. It's reactive. So like, let's say if there's somebody there at a construction site at 4 a.m. and they're painting, a very quiet activity, and that doesn't generate any complaints, obviously there's not gonna be on our radar as much. So it's reactive. That's why I say it's reactive. So, but a loud guy running a jackhammer at midnight obviously is gonna generate complaints.
Absolutely.
So that's, I guess hopefully that gives you insight of how we
Yeah.
do
So,
it.
okay, thank you. So, huh? Yeah, so direction for staff from my perspective is there's a large investment of a slab out there that the contractor is trying and developer are trying to protect. And, by saw cutting in their appropriate time window, they can help protect that. Where they're currently at with the pavement they did today, it's probably 2+ blocks away from the nearest residence. So it's not like they were last night, starting next to John's house, two houses away. They should be far enough away that the noise levels would be relatively minor. I know they do travel at night. So I would say, and if it was up to me, there's a large investment out there that's a large part of a community project that's been approved by council to move forward. I would think that we would want the contractor to protect that pavement so that Jeff, when that development is done and it's turned over to the city and it's the city's own pavement for the rest of the history of that pavement or the future of that pavement, that we have the best pavement we can have. And Jeff doesn't have further maintenance problems due to random cracking or other stuff out there. So I would say if it was me making that direction, I'd say, thank you. We recognize you. We recognize that. It's as far away as it can be. Try and keep it as quick as you can and minimal as you can.
Very much. Mr. Rigler.
Yeah, I've been the same way, whether it's Chris's thing, any of it, if it's not in ink, I don't like the idea of going against it. If we, as a council, we needed minimum 24 hours to meet, I would be open to doing a work session any day this week so that we can vet it out. That doesn't solve the problem for the concrete poured today. So if collectively we were making an exception, or maybe it's they get fined for doing it today, but I want to protect the integrity of what was poured today. But maybe they're just getting fined as a result of it, and that's between the builder or the contractors to figure out. That being said, big part I wanted to discuss is if we can get a work session ASAP on it, I can be flexible to figuring this out so that we're not dealing with it for the completion of this development. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Hedger.
Nate, is this a municipal infraction?
I think it is under, I'd have to read check.
So it's basically a civil?
Yeah.
So,
If your ordinance reads like other city ordinances, it would just be a chapter 4 infraction. So, yeah, a civil infraction.
so it usually, by a fine of $100.
Up to 750.
Up to $750 for the first offense, $1,000 for repeat offenses.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm in favor if we issue the municipal infraction and they can pay the fine.
Fair enough. Ms. Roberts.
I was gonna follow the same path, because the city's gonna own that street after, and it's gonna be us paying for it to fix it if we don't allow the stop cutting. So while I understand it is a nuisance and I wouldn't like it outside of my window, but if we do have a municipal code, then, we redid East Fourth. There was plenty of noise. It wasn't at 1 a.m. A lot of inconveniences for that. So I will just follow what the rules are, do the fine if necessary. And we can have a work session to maybe work out, we need to have this in place so that folks don't put themselves in this situation ahead of time in the future. That's all.
Got it. All right. Chief, based on the direction I've heard there, if there is activity this evening that violates city code, and ask that you take appropriate action.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate
Very
it.
much. Thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. I also just wanted to say there might be something within the contract that would specify they have to be within the city code requirements. So that might just be something for you guys to maneuver through as well.
Thank you very much. With that, well, I guess this was brought up in work session, I'm sorry, a council meeting in the near future. We could certainly do that. However, in order to do that and then get 3 readings to change an ordinance, I think that's a heavy lift because the activity that we're discussing is probably going to be completed in 24, 48 hours from now. So I'm not too inclined unless I hear a lot of people that are interested in pursuing an ordinance change here in the next 24 hours.
So I'm with Greg. We need to do some research on this
Yeah.
before we make any decisions. Making a hastily decision within the next 48 hours or something on just one situation, it's a bad deal.
Fair enough. All right, our next meeting will be our regular scheduled meeting. With that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn this evening.
Give your motion.
Second.
Motion by Mulder, second by Roberts. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm sorry. No.